Back in the late 19th century, a tradition was started that was unlike anything else. Today, that tradition lives on and is celebrated by folks like you and me. Today's August 20th, 2025, and this marks the beginning of yet another high school football season in the Ohio Valley. We'll discuss it all on tonight's episode of Hometown Huddle.
All the way to the house, and it's going to be a St. Clairsville touchdown. First play of the game. Hello, touchdown Huskies. Wide open, touchdown Ohio Valley.
This time comes around every year and grabs our full attention and frankly doesn't let it go until you put your Christmas trees up. Welcome in. This is Hometown Huddle on the Harco Media Network. I'm your ecstatic host, Drake Watson. You and I both know that it's game week. We've got games tomorrow night. We've got games Friday night. It's week 1 in Ohio. We've got a lot to talk about, a lot to break down. We're not screwing around tonight. We're going to get straight into it. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. That's all we need. You're good to go. We're good to go. We're mutually good to go. Like the thing on Facebook and follow the page, the 5 stars on podcast, all the stuff. You know the thing. Here we go. Indian Creek won't be talked about a lot on tonight's show, frankly, because they don't have the toughest week 1 opponent. But I did just want to mention real quickly how much I like their schedule. We've done the breakdown of every team's schedule in the Valley. I showed you the sheets just a few weeks ago on the show. And we've got every team on there. It's about 30 teams, every game on their schedule. And we've underlined the games that are against Valley opponents. It's week 1. A lot of teams are opening up with teams that are outside of the Valley, some cases just outside, in some cases very far outside of the Valley. Indian Creek, when we look at their thing, at their schedule on our sheet, every single game is underlined. I think Bel Air is like that as well. Every game is a Ohio Valley game, and we like that because there will be numerous opportunities to talk about the Redskins and their football this season. I don't know that anybody's expecting less than a big win for the Redskins in week 1 against Cambridge, so not going to talk about their game tonight, but we will have plenty of opportunities. They've got some tough games. They've got some not so tough games, and it all culminates with the Edison Showdown at the end of the year in week 10. I also wanted to talk about their stadium, the environment that exists within Kettlewell Memorial Stadium. I haven't been in the stands in I think 15 plus years. Yes, I was alive that long ago, but in recent years, I've been in the press box. I've been on the sidelines, been all around and seen games there, and that is frankly one of the top environments in the Ohio Valley when it comes to stadiums. I didn't say the best, but it's up there with the best. It's one of the best. I asked the question about the best environment, the best atmosphere, best stadiums. I asked Justin and I asked Anthony both that question. If somebody had asked me that question, Indian Creek is the team that would have come to mind pretty quickly. The configuration of their stands, some schools have stands and they're real wide and they're kind of what I call shallow, and they don't go up super far. They're 30 yards away from the sidelines, so you're looking out at flat. You can't see anything that's happening on the opposite side of the field. Indian Creek's stands go straight up almost. They're very vertical. If you sit on the top row, you have a very good bird's eye view of the action on the field, and we like that. It also helps their marching band. Always really good. Always thought Indian Creek had one of the best bands in the Ohio Valley. That stadium is now closed to the general public, which is kind of a shame because all it takes is a couple fools doing a couple foolish things to take something nice away from the general public. But at the same time, as contradictory as this sounds, I think this is the right move for the health of that building, the condition of the playing surface, and just the overall well-being of the facility. I think it's the right move to not have people on there that don't need to be on there. Folks like you and like me, I don't need to be on a field anywhere as much as I want to pretend to catch a touchdown pass in the red end zones at Kettlewell Memorial Stadium. But I'm glad some schools still do keep their stadiums open. Like St. Clairsville, when I go toss ball with the buddies, that's where I go. If they ever close their stadium to the public, I would probably riot. But Indian Creek is now, the folks that actually need to be on the field, the folks not like me because I don't need to be there, and they want to run on the track and they want to be on the field, if they're actually deserving enough to do that, they shouldn't have any issue getting access from the Board of Education. That's the way it'll go down at Indian Creek. But wanted to get the Redskins on the show. We had a comment on one of the short form clips. It was on the TikTok account, And Parker Heath is a football player at Indian Creek. He told us to get the Redskins on the show. Parker, if you're watching, this is probably the best we could do. I love their stadium. I love their schedule. I think they'll win big Friday night. You might have something to do with that. Maybe not. Who knows? I don't know. Go tackle 20 Bobcats. But I think Parker was talking about the coach interview series, and we would have loved to have Coach Connor on, but the way the schedules came to be, it just didn't work out, and folks were starting two-a-days, and we had some things going on, so couldn't work it out. But hey, you talk to the guy more than I do because I've never spoken to him. So put in a word for Hometown Huddle, and maybe we can get that arranged for next summer. Moving along, that's a prime example of why you should be commenting, because we just used, I don't know Parker, but I know he plays football at Creek, and he wants us to talk about Indian Creek, so we led the show with it tonight. And if you comment, that could be the case with you as well. So keep the conversation going, as we always say. Keep it going after the show. All right, moving along. Youngstown Ursuline at Steubenville Big Red. This could be one of the toughest games on Big Red's schedule this season. They've got a couple tough games. This could be one of the toughest. Last season, Ursuline went 13-2, lost in the state semifinal in Region 9, that's Division 3. Big Red was 13-1. They lost in their regional final in Region 11, also Division 3. This is a series that dates back to 1983. This will be the 17th meeting all time between these two schools. Big Red leads 11-5. They actually have a pretty decent history of scheduling each other. Out of the previous 16 meetings, only 3 have been in the postseason, so that means they're actually getting on the phone and calling each other and saying, hey, let's go play ball. So love to see big schools and good teams playing each other in the regular season and providing that competition for themselves. They played 2 years ago in 2023. Big Red went up to Ursuline and lost 36-28. And Big Red opened up their 2017 state championship season with a blowout of Ursuline. So they've split the last 2 meetings. I talked to you about Kettlewell Memorial Stadium. Let's go up the road a little bit, up 43, and stop at Harding Stadium, because a lot of folks just talking about this game and hearing things about this Week 1 game, this highly anticipated Week 1 game on Friday night, a lot of folks are mentioning Harding Stadium and the environment that exists in Steubenville, in the crowd and everything else. A lot of folks think neutral field, Ursuline's got the better team, they've got the better players. Their words, not mine, but they think Ursuline wins a close game if it's on a neutral field. A lot of folks are saying that because it's at Steubenville, they think, and many others, so-called experts, think that home field advantage in high school football in Ohio is worth about 2 points. So this game could go either way. I'm interested if it's a close game and Big Red wins. How big of a role does the crowd play in that? I know the visiting side is so close to the sideline, so if you get up and you've got one of them lower seats and you're yelling your head off, you could really have an impact maybe on some of the guys on the sidelines. I'm not sure how much that would impact the communication with the coaches, but that crowd's going to be hostile. They're going to be ecstatic. They're going to be all fired up, especially if they're caffeinated. If they go down to 4th Street downtown and they stop at Leonardo's, that's the coffee house down there. A lot of folks get the I don't know what, the oat milk latte art project of a drink. I prefer the coal miner. It's coffee, just coffee. You really want something strong, get the coal miner's daughter. Nice to sip on as well. But the crowd at Harding Stadium is going to be electric. Again, we think it's going to be a close game. A lot of folks are saying that. Some say Ursuline should win this thing by as many as 3 touchdowns. Not many folks are saying that in comparison to the amount of people that are saying it would be a close game, but I don't think it would be that big of a margin either way. But I think it'll be a low-scoring game. I certainly think points will be at a premium here, especially with Big Red, because think about this. Ursuline returns 8 players on defense that gave up an average of 8 points in their 5 playoff games last season. 8 points. Their loss that knocked them out of the playoffs and ended their season, they only gave up a touchdown. They had a shutout in the playoffs. That defense is going to be nasty for Ursuline. And with Steubenville breaking in a new quarterback, Santino Haney, might have to lean on the running game. KJ1 Bryant, Ja'Kai Muntz. If the line can do well in front of them and really open up some holes, that opens up some opportunities for Haney to find guys downfield on big plays like Trayvon Wiggins. So I think it'll be a tough task offensively for Steubenville. Ursuline's also in the midst of a quarterback battle. From what I'm hearing, they've got several guys that are in the midst of the battle. I don't know if a starter's been named up there or not, but they all can throw. They all can run. Maybe not. They might not run as well as their quarterback did last season, but regardless, they're going to run the quarterback a little bit. And guys like Nolan Blackburn and Landon Crozier, they're going to have to step up defensively for Steubenville, fill some holes from their linebacker positions, and get some stops. But points will be at a premium. I think it'll be a defensive game. All of that is to say that this game could be anywhere from 21-20. It could be 14-13. I would love don't get me started on a safety. If there's a safety, if some team wins 2-0, don't get me started. But one of the things I wanted to talk about in regards to this game is the scenario, the what-if scenario of what if Big Red loses. That opens the door for the possibility of an 0-2 start in this season. And you start thinking about how tough that division and that region is, and does that knock them out of contention for a first-round bye? Who knows? But that's all the more reason for Steubenville to be fired up for this game. And again, many folks think they'll win. I just wanted to paint the picture, like what if things don't go the way you expect them to on Friday night at Harding Stadium? But it'll be very interesting to see. Can't wait. Again, I think it'll be a close game. Youngstown Ursuline, Steubenville Big Red. It's going to be great. If you have any thoughts or predictions on the game, you know what to do with them. You know what I'm going to say. You need to comment them in whatever platform you're on. Drop them in the comments because that provides really good conversation around the show. I want to address Jake McGlumphy. I've had the pleasure of working with him. He's doing a great job with his with the team previews ahead of this season at Channel 7. Likewise with Hillgrove and Metzger at News 9. All of them great guys, and they're doing a phenomenal job on the team previews. Moving along, the next big game we'll talk about is St. Clairsville at Norwayne. Can you find Creston on a map? Shamefully and admittedly, I couldn't either until a couple years ago when I actually went there for a game. But you just throw a dart somewhere between Mansfield and Akron, and you'll find it somewhere amidst the fields and farms and plains of northeastern Ohio. But St. Clairsville and Norwayne, the series history includes no more than last season's thriller at Red Devil Stadium. St. Clairsville won 28-21. It was like a basketball game when you get into a bunch of runs back and forth. St. Clairsville went up 14-0, and then they blink their eyes. It's the third quarter, and they're down 21-14. They score 14 unanswered, and they come out on top 28-21. Similarly to the Big Red game, I think about what if they lose? Is that their only loss? Is that the first of many? Their schedule isn't loaded with layups, and so you just hope that if you're a St. Clairsville fan, let's say you go on the road and lose, 2 hours away, I might add. What's the morale of your team? I think they're going to be okay the next week against Brownsville. We'll talk about that game in a little bit, but you don't want to get into the habit of anytime they get into these matchup games, they can't come out on top. I don't think that's going to be the case, but just something to think about, kind of a what-if scenario. We don't have anything to go off of, essentially, because it's week 1, but this is one of the most flip-a-coin games you can think of. Last season, St. Clairsville was 13-1, lost in the regional finals in Region 15. Now they're down a division. They're in Region 17 now, Division 5. Norwayne, 10-2 last season. They lost in the quarterfinals. They actually won their first-round game by 3 points in overtime, and then their quarterfinal loss was just by 7. And that loss snapped a 10-game winning streak that began after the St. Clairsville loss at the beginning of the season. They're Division 5, Region 18. And the same thing. Will they play again this season because they're the same division? It's possible. It's not likely. It's hard for one of those teams to get to the state semis. It's even harder for both of them to do so. That being said, similar to the Big Red game, it could be a low-scoring game. I have more confidence that Steubenville Ursuline will have a lower point total, frankly, than St. Clairsville and Norwayne. But you have reasonable concerns about St. Clairsville, particularly on offense. They lost their quarterback, they lost running backs, wide receivers, and 4 out of 5 offensive linemen. There's been a battle throughout the summer at quarterback at St. Clairsville. We expect it to be Brett McLean's son, Sam McLean, to be the starting quarterback for St. Clairsville. He's had the lead in that battle for a while. He's a senior. It wouldn't surprise me if he wins the job, much like Colby Kropka at Martins Ferry. Those guys have been watching football and watching film, and they've been around a football field since they could walk. So I wouldn't be surprised if he wins the job. Ollie Moley played a big role for St. Clairsville last season. That's just going to have to increase this year, playing that hybrid wide receiver running back position. Played a lot of running back this last season, but he's probably going to have to do more on the outside for him and kind of be that hybrid player because of all the things that they lost. Also on the outside, they're going to need guys like Caden Clifford and Tyler Harris to step up. And that's all great, but here's the kicker. They have one returning starter on the offensive line. Now, that's Mason Wilt, so that's okay because he's the starting left tackle. He's getting some looks from some powerful he's getting looks from some Power 4 schools. Can we do it right here? If you're Sam McLean, you're okay with your left side being your blind side all the time because you know Mason Wilt's going to hold it down over there, and you're going to look over here because that's where your new right tackle and right guard are playing, and that's where you're going to have a running back maybe set to that side or a tight end to try to pick up any pressure off the edge. One of the things that's good about St. Clairsville is usually you can look up at the scoreboard. It says 34-6 at the end of the third, and then you look back down on the field, and all the freshmen are in. All the young guys are in the game. And so very seldom are they in a position where they have to put guys on the field that have never played before. So all them linemen that are going to be new for them, all four of them on the offensive line, have played to some degree, but this is going to be the first time that they're all going to have to start a season and go the entire way and really gel together. How do you help a young offensive line? Zone blocking, not easy, but simpler. As opposed to gap scheme blocking and pulling linemen. So I'd look for a lot of zone schemes for St. Clairsville. I'd also look for a lot of quick game passes on the outside. Quick screens are going to be pivotal. I think that means for St. Clairsville this season, their success hinges on their opponent's ability to stop their playmakers in space. So, Sam McLean throws a pass out to Caden Clifford at his own 20-yard line, and it's maybe a quick bubble. And if Clifford can break a tackle and then make a guy miss and score an 80-yard touchdown, and they can do that consistently, St. Clairsville is going to be just fine. But if teams are really good at open field tackling, that's how you paint yourself a picture where St. Clairsville loses more than a game or two this season. So I think it's all going to depend on that. Either way, I think the Norwayne game is going to be a huge game, and I look for it to be close. I wish I could go to that one too, but 2 hours away. I've got other things to do Friday night. So anybody who is going, anybody who's not going, it doesn't matter. Drop your predictions in the comments. That's going to be the case with all of these games. Hey, quick timeout. Little stoppage in the action. I wanted to ask you, are you following the page? Are you liking the videos? Subscribed on YouTube? 5 stars on the podcast format? If not, that's all we ask of you, and we will continue to strive to give you great quality content week in and week out. All we need you to do in return is tap a button on your cell phone or on your laptop or wherever you may be. That helps us out immensely. That helps us deliver great content to you. And there's no strings attached, no expense to you. You hit the button, you go on with your day. That's all we ask of you. We hope you enjoy the content. And with that, back to the show. Where will you be this Friday? What game are you going to? Drop that in the comments as well. All of the rhetorical questions that I ask you on this show are more opportunities for you to get in the comments on whatever platform that you're on. And as we always say, keep the conversation going long after the show is over. I'll be down the road doing play-by-play for Harrison Central. The battle for Tappan Lake, Claymont comes to town, and that'll be on HCTV on YouTube if you would like to tune in, if you haven't heard enough of me already. But let's break this game down. No matter what game you're at, you can tune into this game, and you should, because it could get interesting. Harrison Central leads the series 13-4. Claymont hasn't won since 2011. They play for this big oar that you would row a boat with at Tappan Lake. They haven't won that since 2011. It didn't exist back then either. They took a break from playing about 10 years ago. They started back up in 2021. Harrison won that game in blowout fashion. But every game since then has been getting closer. And it's been a close game at halftime. And then Harrison Central has made the big plays in all three of these, in all of the previous 3 games. Harrison has made the big plays in the second half to really blow the thing open and make it look worse than it actually was. It was a close game at halftime. I think in this game, the team that gives up the fewest big plays ends up winning the game, especially in the second half. A 5-year-old could have told you that. But for Harrison Central, Michael Quito is gone, but we've known that. He got hurt in week 5 of last season. Brady Hire back at quarterback in year 2 as the starter. I think his ability to be consistent and consistently good will play a big role in Harrison Central's success this year, should they have it. Guys like Chaz Culbertson and Jacob Quito are back. They can both catch and run the football. And I think 4 out of their 5 offensive linemen, one way or another, have played before. So they should be okay up front, and they've looked good so far in their scrimmages. If Claymont can pull the upset, and again, Harrison Central, the experts say, should win by about 5. But if Claymont can pull the upset, it would be a monumental win for that program. And I think at that point, it's imperative that Harrison Central moves on from the loss and doesn't let their season spiral out of control as it did last season. If Harrison Central wins, it's business as usual. And we go on and we talk about week 2 right afterwards. But either way, I think it should be a good game. Again, I think whatever team can make the adjustments at halftime, because I imagine it would be a close game at halftime, whatever team can make the best adjustments, really get a feel for what the other side is scheming up, and they can rip off some big plays in the second half, that's going to be the team that wins the game. On a side note, I don't know if you've ever driven on Route 9 south of St. Clairsville, but there is a random yard with a Claymont Mustangs sign in it, and I'm just fascinated. I would love to know the story behind that. Like Claymont's an hour away from St. Clairsville. I know very well. But that's like seeing a Bel Air sign in a Toronto yard. So that's just really interesting to me. But hey, there's Harrison fans in I'm sure in Guernsey County. I'm sure there's Barnesville fans all the way up in Jefferson County. So we love to see it. Moving along, I'm gonna pull a stunt later on the show, and I had to make sure my we'll call it prop was in order. We'll talk about Region 17 for a second. Actually, for the rest of the show, we'll give the smaller schools some love here. Bridgeport at Frontier is a game happening tomorrow night on the 21st. It's a game that I think could be close, just as last year. It might have been one of the best high school football games I was at last year. I'm going to show you the footage that we got from that game on your screen. It was a Thursday night opener last year, the same as it was this year. It was at Bridgeport, and the same night, Martins Ferry was hosting Shadyside. And I figured I actually didn't even know about the Bridgeport Frontier game last season, so I was thinking, let me just go to the Ferry game and see what's happening. And it was maybe midway through first quarter. Ferry was up 27-0, something along those lines, and I was like, okay, we need something to do. It was hot, it was humid, it was all the things that you don't like about an early kickoff and an early season game. I think they even moved that kickoff up by like 15 minutes because of TV or something. But so then I'm looking on different things. I'm seeing scores, and I'm like, oh, Bridgeport and Frontier are playing right now, and it's a close game in the first quarter still. So we drive from Martins Ferry to Bridgeport, which is like you could throw a baseball from Martins Ferry to Bridgeport. I probably couldn't, but you could. We drive down there. We get there at the start of the second quarter, and it was a great game from that point on. It was a great environment. One of them places that just screams high school football, small school high school football. The crowd was bananas. The noise rivaled that of the trucks on I-70 nearby. And I'm showing you footage of last year's game. It was insane. Frontier was down 38-34 late in the game, late in the fourth quarter. They're driving down the field. They hit some big plays. They get down near the end zone, and Bridgeport stops them. They come up with a big fourth down stop to seal the victory, and Bridgeport goes on and wins. I expect another close game this season. Frontier is the home team. They're projected to win by the experts, and they'll be at home. But Bridgeport, they're confident in their ability to run the ball. They return a lot of guys on offense. I think their season, and their coaches will say this too, their season really hinges on how good their defense can play. If they can stop guys, then they think they'll be able to run the football and play good defense. No matter what the conditions are, they'll be able to win football games and get a higher seed in Regions 27. But if their defense keeps giving up big plays, it doesn't matter how good you can run the football. I think it was 3 games last season that they ended up losing, where they, at the end of the year, where they ran for more yards than the other team and they still lost. So that just shows that some improvements needed to be made on the defensive side of the ball, and we're really excited to see if they were able to do that and what happens in that Frontier game. And we'll be right here on Hometown Huddle next week to break it down. So I told you where I would be on Friday, but as we know, talking about the Bridgeport Frontier game, there are Thursday night games happening. Tomorrow night, where will I be? I have options here. Frontier is a little far away. Bel Air at Buckeye Local might be a good game, might get ugly. Either way, I've been to both places. I've played on both of those fields, and I wanted to go somewhere that I've never been. So here it is, the dramatic reveal. If you'll excuse me for just a second. We're going to Shadyside for the podcast. That was not very anticlimactic for the podcast, folks. I reached down and put on a Shadyside Tigers hat. I got this hat from an attic in Morristown, of all places, sometime in the early to mid 2020s, that is. This thing looks like it's from World War II. It feels like it's from World War II, but I love it, and I'm going to be wearing it on Friday. I've been a closeted Shadyside Tigers fan for many years, and it kind of reminds you of an online relationship, though, because I've never been to Fleming Field. I've never been to Matt's Tiger Pub. That all changes tomorrow night. We're going. Follow on the socials. Mine, Drake Watson 05, something along those lines. You really don't need mine. Go to Harco Media Network. You can find all of our stuff on there, and it will be well documented. You'll see stuff on there that you won't see on the show, so make sure you're following over there. East Palestine makes the trip down the state line, and I don't know if anybody has a good read on the game because the point spread on certain sites is like 1, so it could go either way. It could really be a coin flip. We're really excited to see what's going to go down there, and we're going to break it all down tomorrow night. If you're following on the socials, you'll see, and we'll, of course, talk about all these games that I mentioned. We'll talk about and break down on next week's show on August 27th, but interested to see and excited to see what happens in eastern Belmont County when I'm down there on Thursday night, tomorrow night. Moving along, we've got one last thing to talk to you about. We're introducing a new segment on tonight's show, a recurring segment. And this, another spin on the title of the show, No Huddle. This is where anytime I have a bunch of information to give to you very quickly and just rattle off a bunch of things without going into too much detail, that'll be our No Huddle segment. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at every other game in the Ohio Valley that I haven't talked about so far. Beaver Local plays Shaw. East Liverpool is at Carrollton. I think that could be a close game. I almost talked about and broke that one down tonight. Obviously, Buckeye Local and Bel Air. I think Bel Air is returning a lot of talent, so that should be a big win for the Big Reds of Bel Air. If it's not, if it's a close game or even if Buckeye Local wins, is that an indictment on where Bel Air is as a program, or is that reason to be excited if you're a Panthers fan? But I expect Bel Air to win that one, but who knows? We expected Edison to beat Shenandoah last season, and everybody thought they would win by a lot of points, and they didn't. They got upset by Shenandoah. They get the Zeps at home this season. Edison hosting Shenandoah. Steubenville Catholic Central goes to Wellsville. Toronto hosts Southern Local. Conotton Valley hosts Tuscarora Central Catholic. That's also tomorrow night. I think TCC's on a bad losing streak, a very big losing streak, I think. So, and Conotton Valley's really done a nice job over the last few years. I think they'll roll in that one. Buckeye Trail is at Caldwell. Brand new turf. I told you last week, brand new turf at Caldwell. Super excited. I'm sure that Caldwell is excited that they get to play Buckeye Trail on new turf the same year that the turf was started, because I think it was like 3 years ago. They were supposed to play at Buckeye Trail, and they had to move the game to a neutral site. They played at Meadowbrook on a Saturday night because Buckeye Trail was installing turf in 2022, and it wasn't ready yet for the game. So I had to do a Buckeye Trail game play-by-play the next week. So I was like, let me go out to Meadowbrook and see what's happening. Buckeye Trail and Caldwell, always a close game, always a good game. Barnesville and Fort Fry, that one is at Barnesville. This is a good opportunity to see if Barnesville is the same caliber of team they've been over the last few years, if they can continue that dominance. Fort Fry has also been really good. You look at this game and you think, just like on paper and name recognition, you think two really good teams, should be a close game. That's what we thought last year too, but Barnesville ended up blowing them out en route to another 10-0 regular season. Barnesville's got one of the longest regular season winning streaks in the state of Ohio. I think it's 30-something plus games that they've won in a row. Martins Ferry's got Expression Prep. Shadyside, as we've said, has East Palestine, not East Liverpool. Don't want to blow the whistle. Union Local hosts John F. Kennedy. Monroe Central goes at Liberty Union. And River hosts the Commodores of Perry Traditional, a Pennsylvania team, going down to face the Pilots of River. So that's a quick look at all of the games in the Ohio Valley that are being played either tomorrow night or Friday night. We'll be back here on Wednesday night to talk about all of them. We will continue the No Huddle segment. We'll probably have 2 next week because I'll tell you all the games that aren't worth going into big detail. And I'll also rattle off a bunch of scores. That's a lot of numbers to keep up with at one time. All the games that I talked about in depth tonight: Youngstown Ursuline at Steubenville, St. Clairsville at Norwayne, Claymont at Harrison Central, Bridgeport at Frontier, and East Palestine at Shadyside. We'll talk about those games and see what how we did as far as what our feeling was heading into the game. We think all of these are going to be close games. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking about them. But we'll probably have one of them will be a blowout. We're not sure. So that's the excitement, though. That's why we watch the games because, again, on paper, they all should be close games. But we don't play the games on paper, and we're going to watch them be played on artificial turf and grass over the next 2 nights. That's all we have for this August 20th edition of Hometown Huddle. Thank you for watching if you've made it this far. We will be back again Wednesday night to digest everything that happens in Week 1. We're going to take a look ahead at Week 2 and preview some games. And West Virginia plays ball next week as well, so they're going to join the party, and we're excited to talk about those games as well. For everyone at Harco Media, I'm Drake Watson saying thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.